I was in the Army for 12 years, both active duty and National Guard. Rose up through the ranks as a non-commissioned officer. And so in my experience with the military and being a non-commissioned officer, you basically give me a mission and I'll find a way to make it work, right? So whether it be problem solving, teamwork, what do we have, what can we use? In agriculture, especially, I'm a beginning farmer with my wife. We're starting out basically from scratch. And it's one of those things where, okay, today, she'll ask me, what are we doing today? And I'm like, all right, let's figure out what we're gonna do today. And so once we have that in mind, it's go time. What do we have? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna fix? What are we gonna, where are we gonna purchase this? A little bit of background about myself is after the military, I went into law enforcement. In 20 years in law enforcement, police officer, worked the streets in the Las Vegas area. So that kind of go, let's get something done, let's accomplish something, is what drove me, and I enjoyed the work as law enforcement because it was also training to me in the military. What do we got to do? How are we going to fix it? Let's problem solve it. And so in agriculture and farming especially, the day starts 5 o'clock in the morning for me. I roll out of bed and a cup of coffee, and what do we got to get done? What's going on? What are our assets? What are our chores? Just getting that done in the day. And there are times when I sit back and reflect and go, I got this done today. I can see, I can breathe the fresh air. I can go home and have supper with my wife and my daughter and stuff like that. So the sense of accomplishment of planning something out, of making it work, of of having my wife help me out is just, I think it's therapeutic, if I could use that word. A lot of veterans are focused, and a lot of veterans, I think they lose focus when they get out of the service. I know I did for a while. It was said today, we have a culture, we have a community, we have a purpose. When we're in the military, I was a medic, then I was a military police officer, and that was my purpose, that was my culture, that was my daily operations. When I was overseas, when I was in combat, I had a set, this has to be done. Well, when you get out of the service, nobody's going to be there telling you, hey, today we got to get this done. Hey, you have to tell yourself that. I believe farming fills that purpose, right? If you have to get up to feed the chickens in the morning and feed the pigs, make sure they have water, make sure they're taken care of. Okay, great. Now what? Well, we got to go fix the fence because in the fall, that's our winter pasture. And so we kind of constantly are churning and trying to figure out things. Keeps your mind busy. You're not sitting there wondering, what am I going to do? And so absolutely I agree that farming and agriculture for veterans it's hand in hand. I mean, it goes, there really is no 9 to 5. There really is no, I'm going into the office today. The office is getting up at 5 in the morning and getting out there and, was there a freeze last night? So the water's frozen. Okay, you got to go break the water for your livestock. So that's what I like, the benefit of it. It's always keeping me busy and trying to find new things and exploring. Like I was just having the conversation. We got into regenerative agriculture because I like to do the research and find out how do we benefit? How do we make everything better? We fix things, and so let's fix the soil, let's fix the grasses, let's fix livestock, let's fix the wildlife out there that we don't see very much of anymore. And so I think that's one of the best things about agriculture, especially for veterans. We like to fix things, we like to go and don't tell us no, we can't do it, because we're going to find a way to fix it. We're going to find a way to make it happen, to fix things and build things, right? Yeah. To make something better is, how do you put a label on that? I mean, with death, in my experience, now I grew up in Nebraska, and I worked on a ranch as a young kid, so I saw death. When in the military and in law enforcement, my dad was a doctor, and so death was part of living is part of death, and that was what I was brought up. If you want to live, we're not going to be here forever, and it kind of bugs my wife sometimes because we'll have a discussion on death, and I just tell her, we're all going to die. You have a 100% chance that you're going to die someday. So I think part of that is, as a veteran, as law enforcement, as military, we can, I guess we can, I'm not going to say define it, but we can compartmentalize it and say that's part of us being on this planet, right? Death. With regenerative, what I see is not only of life, but of an improvement in that life, right? We sell chickens. I mean, we raise chickens. We raise them on pasture. They get to do what chickens do. They eat grasses, they eat bugs, they get sunlight, fresh air. We give them a good life. And then when we call them, we've had customers come up and say, you know, that's really good chicken. That's the best chicken they've ever had. Because we give them that wonderful experience of life that they're not confined in facilities. Our pigs are the same way now. We haven't gotten reviews on that yet, but we leave them out on pasture. We do the paddock systems. We move them every 3 weeks. Before we move them, we spread down seed so they can help plant new life. And so I think part of the healing process, I want to say also too, is like, I suffer, on a personal note, I suffer from PTSD. And so to be able to go into our pastures or to see, you know, life from a chick to a chicken, or from a little pig to a big pig, or, you know, to be say, you know, we helped that and we made it a better quality of life for that that livestock, is fulfilling to me. Not also what it's going to give us afterwards, right? But just the process of having them, no stress. You know, they're not sick, they're not confined. They're out there doing stuff. We visit them, you know, 2-3 times a day to make sure they're taken care of. And then we also see the benefits of what they're doing to the soil and to the grasses. That fulfillment of being able to bring on a better quality of life for what we're raising is therapeutic in and of itself, right? Some people find it probably volunteering at a hospital or volunteering with kids, and that's their purpose. For me, my wife, our purpose, and at least for myself, I can speak for myself, the therapeutic part is giving them a better quality of life. And I think we've gotten pretty good reviews on it. So, and the other thing too is, because we do the regenerative agriculture, we have had individuals come to us in our community and say, we'd like to know what you're doing. How are you doing? We want to start that program. And then we're only a year in, and we've already had 2 or 3 different farmers. We had the FFA come in and say, you know, how are you doing it on your prairies? What native grasses have come back? Since something's been done for about 10, 15 years, what native grasses have come back? We have one lady and her husband came and we want to raise chickens the way you guys are raising it. How are you doing it? So one of our goals with our business was to be an educational source, to be so that someone who and it's happened in the community goes, oh, we heard about regenerative agriculture. Go see Gus and Stephanie. Go see the Leighs, the NE-leigh farm. They practice that. And in years to come, we hope to say, oh, not only we practice it, we preach it, but here are the results, lab results. Here's what our grasses look like. I mean, I see it on the documentaries. I see, you know, walking through some beautiful, beautiful grasslands, and I tell her, look at the grass. Look at what they're stepping into. Look at all the different variety and flowers, and you know, we want to plant things that are good for the birds, but also for the insects. I said, look at the pollinators that are out there. That whole thing to me has absolutely helped me with my PTSD. It's helped me with my just overall with the service, and so it's a benefit. I think it's a benefit.
Let's talk a little bit about this cycle of life and death. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we manage our farms regeneratively, especially, we begin to put life and death into the proper perspective. And, you know, first of all, like you've described, we absolutely see more life, you know, in a whole array of things, right? I mean, we see more life in the plant species and the insects and the birds, and then, of course, all of our wildlife and our domestic animals and everything else that we have. But yet, all of those still die, you know, because we, just as you said earlier, death still exists, and it always will. But in the regenerative sense, when an animal dies, then it feeds and enriches the soil again. When insects die, they do the same thing. They feed and enrich the soil, and even the microbes in the soil and the plants themselves die. But that death fuels new life, renewed life, and it builds new organic matter, it builds new fertility and all of that. So relative to what you're seeing out there, what does the cycle of life and death look like on your farm?
I look at it as a purpose, right? So you have everything that you can do to make life better, to help, because I know that in death, that's going to make the next generation, if you will, that much better, right? Mm-hmm. So I go out there and we put, we'll put our chickens on pasture. Before we do that, we mow it so that for predatory purpose, stuff like that. But I know that what they leave benefits the soil. If I were to put those chickens underground, they're going to benefit the soil. So in that realm, life and death work hand in hand to better the everything. It's almost like a natural, right? So it's easier for me to comprehend and understand that, yes, death is sad. I mean, we've lost livestock, but then again, we gave that livestock a good life. In return, because of that, I feel that livestock will in turn help us for the next generation, right? So that if I'm cutting grass this fall, leaving it as a blanket, as an armor over the winter, in the spring I'm going to have beautiful, nice new grass coming up. If I put cattle on there and they're eating and they're chomping and they're doing their thing, in 45 days or 50 days, I'm going to have a beautiful pasture in return. So I look at it, and it's helped me. Agriculture has helped me to say, we have life and we have death, and they go hand in hand, and it needs to be that way, right? Nothing lasts forever. But if we can make life to be a stress-free, wonderful experience, and death, next generation will be just as good, right? So whether it be with microbial life, with our pastures, with livestock, if we put seeds down, we know that what's left is a benefit to the pasture for us.
And that is the way, though, that it does last forever. Mm-hmm. And that, once any of these creatures, organisms die, then again, they become new fertility and new organic matter, and they fuel that emerging life. Yeah. And so through that emerging life, that sacrifice life does continue to live and continue to thrive, and we just continue to build on that. So tell me, over the time that you and your wife have been on the land there, what are some of the key changes that you have seen?
We see more wildlife. We hear turkeys. I've never heard turkeys out there before. We hear turkeys, we hear pheasants, we see deer. We do see a variety of different grasses coming back. Just the other day we were walking our pasture. Along with the brome, we also saw some sweet clover. We saw some alfalfa that were starting to come up. And so that, to me, whereas one time it was all brome, once we brought our livestock in there and mowed it and put chickens on there and let them do their thing, now we're starting to see the benefits of that, right? So we're starting to see like I said, the sweet clover, the white clover, and the alfalfa coming in between the brome coming back up, which I don't think has been there for quite some time. And so that's one of the benefits, that we're seeing a variety of different species of grasses coming back. We hope that we will also see a variety of different birds, because one of the things we want to increase on our pastures is birds, because we believe that birds and insects. I remember reading one time that even bees will completely change your pasture.
Exactly.
So we want to bring that back. We do have plans on planting some wildflowers and some different type of grasses that produce good food for bees and insects and stuff like that. So yeah, it's slow, but when you see it, it changes. You're like, okay, we must be doing something right. I hope we're doing something right. I saw that sweet clover, and I said, I don't think I've ever seen sweet clover in this pasture. I don't think it's been here. And all around us is conventional row crops. Mm-hmm. So that little area right there is like, let's make this a place where for wildlife to come in and eat that, and help with that.
That's exactly what we often see. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about this is that what you're doing is producing very positive compounding effects. So, one thing leads to another. So as you increase plant species diversity, then that triggers things occurring both beneath the soil surface and above, all at the same time. So as we increase plant species diversity, then we're increasing the microbial species diversity in the soil below and the macroorganism diversity in the soil below. But at the same time, as we have more plant species diversity, you are going to attract more insects and more wild pollinators and all of that. And then, of course, all of the array of seed and insects are going to attract more birds, mm-hmm. and give you the birds that you want to see there. So it will all come. It's absolutely amazing how they find the habitat. Once that habitat is created, you don't have to go grab them from somewhere and put them there. They will find it, and they will be there, and it just keeps feeding on itself. So that sounds exactly like what is starting to happen. So what are your neighbors saying?
Not much. We kind of like it that way because we do have pigs on our farm, which is one thing that my wife and I said, if we start to smell them, it's time to move them. They've been in that little paddock too long. But I will say, though, that not our neighbors, but our customers, and I can only speak to what our chickens, mm-hmm. have come back and said to us, when I was a kid, we had chickens and we had them on. They could go out there and what you have is even a little bit better than that, than what we. And we've had, people that come to us, they're in their late 60s or in their 70s, mm-hmm. and they're like, we cannot find this kind of chicken where in the grocery store and like that. And we tell them, well, we try to raise them as the way chickens want to be raised on pasture. So that's probably the biggest what we've heard of from our little farm in the surrounding community, what people are talking about. And recently we've had, like I said, we've had people come up to us and say, we heard about this regenerative agriculture thing. What are you guys doing? And we're not experts. Like I said, we're just starting off. And we say, well, we move our chickens, we move our pigs. Once we get cattle up here, we're waiting on water to get put in. Once we get our cattle up here, we will move them every day. And we'd love for you to come back and see it, see what we're doing and see if this is something that would be, you want to take back to your farm to see if this is what you want to do. And if not, we have plenty of livestock if you wish to purchase it, but obviously, we do want to make sure that we are a model for our community. Say, okay, yeah, one of the goals that I have is how many days can you have a cow on a piece of land? Mm-hmm. I think ours is like 1 cow, 5 acres. I want to triple that, so that when I go to talk to the NRDS, NRCS, mm-hmm. and tell them, well, no, ours is 3 times that. You guys need to come up and take a look at what we have, because you told us it's only, it's 1 cow, 5 acres. Well, we have 3 cows, 5 acres, or 10 cows, 5 acres. And so they can see, because we've had them up there, and they've told us, that's not going to work. And so as a veteran, you tell me, no, it's not going to work. I'm going to find a way to make it work. So that was motivation there too. Yeah. we have a mentor who helps us with the farm, and he also practices regenerative agriculture, but he was never in the military. He actually worked for the NRCS for like 30 years. So he transitioned to regenerative agriculture, and he gives us a lot of great advice on what we can do. But no, personally, no, I don't have any friends that I know of went into farming. I mean, like I said, we lived in Las Vegas for 25 years altogether, so we kind of like, this is nice. I have on the police department that I call back and I said, we're retired, I'm retired, but I tell them, there's nothing like getting up in the morning and just going out into the pasture and just listening and not hearing anything, and then going back later on that afternoon and you can hear the bugs, you can hear the birds, you can hear the grasses, you can hear the wind coming through the grass or through the corn or whatever. I said, there's no beating that to me. I mean, like I said, we lived in the desert, we lived in Las Vegas area where really a blade of grass is hard to come by, and even if you had it, they were like, you got to get rid of it to save the water, right? Which I understand. And even that mentality was a little tough, because even when we had the NRCS come in and inspect our pastures, like, all these trees have got to go. Well, we have an infestation of cedar trees. It broke my heart. I'm like, I haven't seen these many trees in years. Why are we getting rid of all these trees? I understood why now. It encroaches and it's detrimental, but just to say, gosh, we got to come. We have 10 acres. I'm like, we got to get rid of all these beautiful trees. But there's a reason for that, and I understood it, doing a little research and finding out why. But we have friends that are like, I want to come see your farm. She has friends that say, I want to come stay with your farm. It's open. Please come by if you have any questions. Even, if you want to know more about it, let us know. We're an open book. We'll tell you what we know. If we don't know, we don't know. And I'll tell you, I don't know. And my wife will tell you, we don't know. But we are very open to coming in and seeing what we've got. And we've even reached out to the university and say, hey, if you have anybody that's in a graduate program, or you guys need to, like, whatever, you guys can come out to our pasture, please. Take samples, see what you can find, and we're more than accommodating this, because we want to see the progress too. Yeah. We're in it. We love our land, we love farming, and we want to see that. Okay, when we started out, we were at this population of whatever it may be, birds, insect, or this is what the condition of your soil. 5 years, 10 years. These are the improvements that you made. This is what and that's what we enjoy, because that we can also share with, if we have local kids at the high school, and they say, hey, the FFA teacher has come out to us already and said, can we bring my kids out? Absolutely. Please come out. I want you to see what we're doing in our pasture. I want you to see how we're raising our livestock. And it's an agricultural community, so they know too. But I think sometimes they see it as a conventional way, because that's what their parents are doing, or that's what they've always done, to now what we're doing is a little bit different and a little bit maybe better, and it is better. And so we're like, please, come on out. I mean, we don't have all the answers, but at least you can see the benefits of how we're doing. It's something that you might want to take and do yourself. Yeah. And so we're doing that right now.
Just being at this convention and listening to the other veterans and their stories, and how they say we all have a story as veterans. They all have a story, and living with a veteran and being in the cast iron fire and then getting out and then jumping back in as a police officer, PTSD is real. It is real, and I've seen it with the men and women in there, but I see it with my husband, and how, also he went through Route 91, that incident that happened in Vegas. So there was a big shooting in Vegas, and he was called to the scene, and there was bodies everywhere, and it can react again. It just doesn't just go away. But he put a garden in our backyard just to stay busy with soil. In Las Vegas, we were growing zucchini and things in 120-degree weather, and he, when he was doing that, he'd go out and once they started growing, he was bringing them in, and he was like, look what we did, and I can see the difference in, getting your hands dirty and taking your mind off those horrible experiences, but bringing life back. You see a lot of death, but grass, animals, those things, they all are life, and how it's a full circle. You can bring something right back. And it, to me, it's just peace, just being in the peace of not being in the city. But for him, I see the full change. And
I think on a personal note, I think one of the things that, because I was in the military and I was in law enforcement, that PTSD, I remember, because I've been going to counseling for quite some time. It's from one high intensity, volatile, adrenaline situation to another that I looked for when high. And I think one of the eye-opening experience for me is what I heard was from World War II veterans. A lot of World War II veterans, when they were passing away, that support system was disappearing. So the veterans that were surviving were having to go at it alone, which was bringing back the PTSD. And so going from military to law enforcement, I was always going. It was an adrenaline. I couldn't get enough. That when I stopped, I finally said, okay, I'm done, 20 years. We're moving back to Nebraska, take care of my folks, take care of her folks. That stuff now starts to come up like weeds. Like, oh man, this is, sleep, dreams, daytime stuff was starting to, it kind of comes back. Sounds where before it was controlled because I was in that environment of high stress, high go, that when you stop, you have to listen to your own mind, listen to your own self. That's where things come back at night and go, okay, these are now the dreams are coming back. So I went back to counseling, to therapy, and I had the agriculture. And that was what gives me that focus and that, okay, I've got to get this done. And so it wasn't a violent, in a sense, a violent kind of goal setting, if that makes sense. It was more of regenerative. It was more of life. I got to take care of these 150, 200 animals and stuff like that. So it does work. I mean, I express that to everybody. Farming is one thing, but when you have like myself, PTSD, it really, really, really works. And other people may not need farming. Other people mechanics. That's what they like to do. It's mechanical work or writing poetry or whatever it is out there that sets you at peace. That's what you've got to go with, right?
When you're not spending all that money on, like the video you played last night, $90,000 they paid to do that thing on the farm, to fertilize the farm. That not only adds stress to the husband, he's angry, he's yelling at his wife. It builds tension in a house when there's a lot of debt. And yeah, he can probably say, I can't take it, I'll just take myself out.
I think that's one of the things too with farming, with any business actually, or any kind of, there has to be some sort of, you have to also budget. You have to have some sort of control of your money. Like we're very frugal in what we do and what we purchase, and so
give a shout out to Dave Ramsey.
You gotta give a shout out to Dave Ramsey.
He is the man.
Yeah, he's the one who put us through the whole. We did the whole Dave Ramsey program. Yeah. We've been on it for almost 15 years now. Mm-hmm. So that mindset, it was finding that or whatever financial program you want to belong to or follow. To me, I understand big farming. I understand big operations. I understand big combines and all that stuff. We try to take the very minimalistic kind of way of. We'll trip over a fence post in the pasture because it's covered over by brome grass. We're putting that in the pile. And we'll see old boards. We'll see old screws, tin, whatever. Okay, we can reuse this. And we try to do it that way instead of going and buying all this stuff. Unless we absolutely have to, we'll try to repurpose and reuse whatever we can find in the pasture, and we can do it. And I think because we don't have that sense of the debt is overwhelming. If that is one of the reasons why people are committing suicide. Like I said, I was law enforcement, so I've been on very, very, very a lot of suicide calls. It could be financial. Obviously, we lived in a gambling, so financial was the big one. It could be drugs, it could be relationships, it could be religion, it could be a whole host of things. I want to say though that there are programs out there, and this is something that we're trying to start in Nebraska with our Farmers Veteran Coalition. if someone doesn't know where to go, we want to be able to say, pick up the phone, FaceTime me at any time and tell me. And that's one thing we did in the military. No one's left behind. You got a problem? Call me. You know, law enforcement, same thing. You got a problem? You call me, because someone has gone through that before and come out the other end. You may not see it right now, but someone else has gone, whether it be in farming or in your own life or your relationship, whatever it may be, someone has gone through that before and they've come out on the other end. So if you need help, please. I know pride, trust me, I know pride. My wife says I'm pretty stubborn, you know, hard-headed, stubborn, and all this. I also have really worked hard to say I need help. You know, and that is something that is hard for a lot of veterans, hard for a lot of people, but I think veterans too, and farmers, like, no, this is the way we're going to do it. I'm going to figure this out. You have to sometimes look back and go, you're not going to figure this out. And someone's going to have to tell you, you're not going to figure this out. You need to get some help, right? And here's my number. I used to say all the time to people, especially the new officers are coming on, you're going to see some stuff. You have my cell phone number. You call me anytime, because that's going to haunt you for a long time if you don't know how to deal with it. And if I can't help you, I'll find someone that will. And that's the way we are in the military. If I can't help you, someone else will. You've got to call. You've got to reach out. You know, they say suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem, right? And I've seen it time and time again. You know, it's a permanent solution but it's a temporary problem that your loved ones are going to have to live with for the rest of their life. And that is the heartbreaking of this whole thing, is that you may think nobody loves you. Someone loves you out there. Someone cares for you. And you're going to do that. It is going to ruin their life. I will attest and testify in any court and tell you it will ruin someone's life with that. So get the help.
Police officers.
Yeah, get the help. And you know, like, we're stubborn, we're proud, I'll figure it out on you. Over the years, I've realized, no, you need to talk to someone. You need to get help. And you know, we have great programs, confidentiality. Nobody needs to know. Nowadays, you can go online, get a good, you know, therapist or someone to speak to, even a close friend, face to face, and they're there to help you. If anything, just listen. But if anyone needs help, suicide prevention hotline is a good one.
Talk to another veteran.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the best.
There are those, like, what's in our town where they have that post where all the veterans can go?
Auxiliary, AMBATs. Auxiliary. It's not VFW. It's
Can have some beers or get together.
yeah, auxiliary.
You know, they reach out to each other. They lean on each other. That's the camaraderie. It's just so amazing. No matter what branch you're from, they got jokes. Okay, they all got jokes. Just like firefighters and police officers, they got jokes. But at the end of the day, like after 9/11, they were all running in the building together. And
Yeah.
I just feel that, you know, from what we're doing now on our farm to where he's been and where he's done a full circle. He says, none of our kids are going to take over this farm. And I was thinking, you know, you never know, because he said, I'll never come back here. And
Yeah. When I left.
and he said, I'll never say never again, because, you know, you just never know, you know, where one of our kids will be in life, where they're like, oh, you know, you just need to get out to the farm. And when they see the peace that it brings and the animals, you know, watching him hold the chicken, or with the pigs, he's rubbing their ears and they're rolling around and they're following him around, bumping him like, hey, and he's talking to them.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the peace that animals bring, and not only the love that they give to us, but to the soil. So it is such a full circle, and it's just so beautiful and amazing to be able to be a part of it. And we're happy doing what we do. Like,
Yep.
we're high-fiving each other. I said, if we're not fixing something, we're building something. If we're not building something, we're feeding something. We're always doing
Yeah.
something. And we're not carpenters, but we got pretty good at it, haven't we?
Yeah, we figured things out.
We do.
Mechanics too. I was never a mechanic, and now we're
Working on tractors and
Yeah,
stuff. I said,
trying to
look
find
at you,
stuff and-
mechanic now. The brakes need to be changed on the car.
yeah.
But you know, you just do, like, I think farmers are everything. They just are everything. They're veterans and mechanics, they're carpenters, they're, you know, nurturers. They sleep with their animals. If they're very sick, they'll stay there with them overnight, or if they got babies coming, piglets coming, or, it's amazing what farmers do. And I watched a video a long time ago on farmers, and I forgot the guy who put it on, but he said, if you ever see a farmer, the life they go through, the first one's up, the last one asleep, and you watch the video, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm worthy enough to say I'm a farmer after watching the video. He's like, well, I'll put you to work.
Yep.
You can earn your stripes.
So Paul Harvey had a good one for farmers too. If you remember Paul Harvey, he had a great one for farmers, and so, yeah, we're trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Making it happen.
Yeah.
And we want to spread the word.
Yep. I want to pass the word.
And thanks to you.
Yes.
My Aunt Mary's, we were, like I said, purchasing a tractor. We were thinking we were going to be spraying, and we were going to be doing all of these horrible things to just what all the other farmers were taught in their generations. And we were ready to do the same thing. And we watched the video. Aunt Mary said, you guys got to watch the video. And we sat
Carbon
there.
Cowboys videos.
Yeah.
Soil Carbon Cowboys,
Yeah.
like all the shorts or just that one?
All of them.
All
We've
of
watched
them.
it from
Yeah.
1 to 12, or I
We
think
were
it's 12.
guessing. I was like, is there any more? He's like, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, it was
Yeah,
amazing.
and that's when I saw you. I'm like,
we met you.
yeah,
We
it's
were
like there.
we
That's.
met you through the television.
So we heard you guys were going to be. I was like, oh, we're going
We're
there.
going to Kansas.
We're going to Kansas, and then
Yeah.
Greg Judy today or tomorrow is going to be
Today, I think. Or is it tomorrow?
tomorrow. I think he's here tomorrow, and what he does with the moving and cows, and I love it. I mean, like I said, I love it. I love to see the grasses and everything, when the cows move through and stuff like that. So
We're learning.
Yep, we're learning.
And thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
Getting out there talking to other farmers that are doing what we want to do. But we had no idea. We were going to mess it all up.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, thank God we watched this. We could have ruined everything. Years. The land was sitting and we could have just ruined it. And so, I thank God we watched this. And we thanked Aunt Mary.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Aunt Mary.